Death by Bunjie. So tell me, when this bow is cocked, tell me that that cam is not touching those servings. Because sure looks like it is. In fact, that looks like it's got some wear right there. Look at that. The cables have been shortened a little bit and it was drawing in too tight. By drawing it in too tight, all of a sudden you don't have enough clearance between the cam and the loop of the cable. I will do a string changing video down the road. I am also told by Excalibur that it will fix the problem. And they were kind enough to send me strings and cables and another set of limbs just to make sure that I'm in good shape with this crossbow. Come, cat. You think of that, huh? You don't like it? Come here. Come over here. Don't be bashful. Don't be bashful. No, be a good cat. We got crossbows to work on here, huh? What do you think? Oh, I have Duncan and a cat and a new hat. Black Eagle arrows. I'll show you a picture of all the arrows. These are shafts that I've made, are outfitted with nocks, the whole bit ready to go in their respective boxes. And believe it or not, there's 2 rows there. There's another row back behind that of arrows in arrow cases and boxes. Same thing over here, except over here we have some that are finished and some that are just bare shaft ready to go. I got my Raven arrows, my Hyper V arrows there, my new Excalibur arrows, the whole bit. Arrows out the wazoo. Gotta stop using that. Gotta stop using that. Burn Chrissy. But anyway, this is Chrissy. This is Genevieve's cat, our shop cat, huh? And she just stays down here and keeps me company and gets in the way. Cleaned off the crossbow workbench. We're going to do a little maintenance on the Hybrid-X. I love this crossbow. Really have had fun shooting it. Did not get it sent here with the intent of buying it. I got it sent here with the intent of just trying it out, and it really impressed me. I have placed a Burris Oracle X on here. It is in the process of being trued. It's raining outside. That's why I'm going to finish up the job on the inside here. Get this guy spiffed up so it's perfect and get it ready to go in the 60-yard backyard. Get it trued in, because next week we're going to a friend of Bunjie Jim's. He's got his crossbow gathering over there. We're going to get together with a bunch of other crossbow fanatics and see how that goes. And we're going to take this there so they can shoot it and play with it. To do that, though, remember we had some issues. I had some concerns about the limbs. I had some concerns about the cables. And I covered that in the last video. I spoke with Excalibur. I spoke with Dave at Wyvern Creations. And we learned that nothing we can't fix. Nothing that's a problem that can't be resolved. Don't worry about the limbs, cosmetic only. But you always keep an eye on limbs, right? You always want to feel those limbs and make sure that, you know, not getting any worse. Keep an eye on stuff. And you always want to make sure you're keeping an eye on your strings and cables. I don't care if you got the old Bunjie, right? The original Bunjie. You always look at your strings, right? You're always looking at that stuff and making sure that it's up to snuff. Now, this little box right here got shipped to me from, where did that come from? Came from Kitchener, Ontario, N2B3X4. You know, I have zip codes up there apparently, but Canada. This is a box that got shipped to me from Canada. That's pretty cool. And it's got a little, and it says export on it, UPS export. So there you go, kaboom. But anyway, let's take this bad boy and open it up, see what we got in here. Boom. Spinify. Boom. Seems like I've done this before with a box from Excalibur that was just this size. Seems like we did that before. Me and Genevieve. See right here, see if I can do that without severing whatever the contents are inside of there. I don't want to break anything, but all right, just what we were waiting for, kiddo. Excited?
Yeah.
Are you excited?
I know what it is.
You do? What?
What?
It's already broken. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. All right, let's try this over again. All right, zoom out wide, Genevieve. Show them what's in this box. Show them. Do you see it? Do you see it? We got a box in the mail from Excalibur Crossbows. I wonder if this is a new crossbow. No, I'm betting it's not. But we're going to open it up. We're going to find out. All right, let's see what they sent us here. We got a packing slip. Yep, thanks a lot for that. I'm going to open this up. Ooh, look at this. Look at these little guys. Aww. 2 little guys. Good times. I love that. So we're going to pull this bad boy out of here. Look at that. Oh, there's our package. And we've got in here a bill for $0. That's my kind of bill right there. So thank you, Excalibur. They're top notch with their customer service and stuff. And don't abuse that. This is a company that really takes care of its consumers. Don't cheat them out of stuff and pretend that your limb's broke just to get a spare set of limbs. I read about that on Facebook and forums and stuff, and man, I hate that. So just don't do that. Make sure that you're upfront and honest with the companies, right? Like, they're doing the best to provide you with a good product. Meet them halfway and be honest with them when you go back to them for warranty stuff or questions. If you screwed up your crossbow and you weren't playing by the rules, you weren't following the instructions, own up to that. That's a pet peeve of mine. But anyway, got a free sticker. That'll go on something good. Get rid of that box. Again, 2 of the other boxes. The cat is still here, but the packing with that box, kaboom, perfect shot. Can't beat it. Bubble wrap, all kinds of bubble wrap. And what do we have from Excalibur? This is from Excalibur, so we know what it is. We know it's a limb. Now, I expect to get limbs from Excalibur, but did you ever expect to see the day when you got cables from Excalibur? Not just 1, but 2 cables, a full set of cables for a crossbow from Excalibur. And this, right? This guy right here, look at that, a string. So we do have a string. And we've got these little doodads right here. So if we replace the limbs, we got that. And we also have more rubber stops to glue on the limbs and another set of the rubber for the stirrups. Pretty cool. So this is the package if you are getting this stuff and they're getting replacements or whatever, they will do that. Now, in this case, Excalibur was kind enough to help me out. I did a warranty thing on it, went through the warranty business, because I did buy this crossbow, I did register it, so I have it all legit. It is like a limited warranty. I don't really get into the warranty stuff on Death by Bunjie an awful lot, but you guys are familiar with my history with warranties and stuff, and I usually screw that process up, so I just end up biting the bullet and buying new stuff. This one I did register properly. We do have new limbs, and I will say the limbs are the same color, the country DNA. It's not the one on the stock, it's the camo pattern from the original limbs. I'm looking over these new limbs, and one thing I will say right off the bat, and my eyes aren't the best in the business here, I should have Genevieve look at this stuff. Remember we had those little tiny voids on the other limbs? I see a little bit of one there. Little crinkly here, but they really don't look too bad. Other thing about the limbs you're going to get from Excalibur, and it's important with this one, when I spoke with Excalibur about this, these both say 425 on them. You want them real close. They've got to be within 1 pound of each other to work on this crossbow and keep it in time. Other than that, this thing shouldn't be that bad to keep in time. So here's the first limb that we're looking at. I'll take this one out. Not seeing any imperfections. Okay. That we were worried about like with the other limbs. Well, I take that back. We do see a little bit of the stress marks there. If you look, Excalibur told me that was pretty common with their finish. And if you look here, these limbs have never been shot, right? And look at them, they may have been tested, but that's how the finish dips into those imperfections. Excalibur's not out there to make the nicest looking limbs. They're out there to make the long-lasting performance limbs. That's what they're looking to do. So this limb does, in fact, have those imperfections. I never really looked that closely at this stuff. So when you start looking closer, it is what it is, right? Now, when we look here, I'm not seeing any pockets or voids. But that's what the limb looks like, the new limb, the limb tip. Up close. That's a good view of this for those of you. It's got cat here. I think they come without the cat here. This is the camo pattern, and you can see it does differ from the stock again. But again, they're just made in 2 different facilities, made 2 different processes, 2 different places, something like that. That doesn't really bother me all that much. It's kind of unique. That's probably something they'll fix in future versions of this crossbow. But for me, that kind of makes it unique. It kind of makes this a kind of a collector's item. It's the actual first edition of this crossbow. Now, that's something I should address here a little bit. I am a tried, true, and tested guy. I don't like the first edition of anything for hunting or anything like that. I typically don't invest in the first edition of anything. I try not to buy, when a new vehicle comes out, I try not to buy the first version of it. I try to buy one after it's been on the market for a while, that kind of thing. Where it's gone out a few years, other people have been the test subjects, and I don't have to be that lab rat, that guinea pig, so to speak. This is not the case. I bought this thing. It's brand new. I'm one of the first people to have one. There's a big risk there, and I'm learning all kinds of things about it. Probably won't hunt with it. It's a pretty big investment to not hunt with it. But to me, this is a big change in Excalibur's mindset, and I want to support that. And I think that it's exciting, and I'm proud to have one of those crossbows, right? I do have a lot of love for Excalibur. You guys got to remember that. I have killed something with that Excalibur right there. That one right there. Bunjie. Every year for the last 16 years. I bought that crossbow in 2010. This is the 16th year in a row since that time. Every single year where I've killed something with that crossbow. That's fantastic, right? So you don't just abandon a company or a mindset or a crossbow after all that. You can't. This one is exciting to me because it's the same company, and here we are 16 years later, 15, 16 years later with a new model. That's pretty cool. That's a whole different mindset, right? So I'm anxious to be in on the ground floor of that and really learn about this crossbow. That's why I'm doing a 3-part series on it. I don't typically do a lot. I typically don't even review crossbows, but the minute I saw this come out, I reached out to people and I said, look, can you set me up with one of these things? I want to play around with it. And this is the result of that, this video series on this crossbow. Let's see what we can do with these limbs. Remember, the cams were over cranked a little bit, and for that reason, even though the timing marks were in time here, I think these cables are a bit short, and it's pulling too much tension on those limbs, because remember, we were cocked in real tight here. We had that wear on the cables. So I'm going to see if we fall on the new cables, if we fall within the timing marks. I'm going to see where it goes, and we'll cock it, and if it's a problem, I will redo the timing on this and back it off. This is, again, as a first edition, so to speak, of this crossbow, so it's possible that it needs a little more attention than other ones that will be on the market. But I'm pretty committed to it, because right there's my Burris Oracle X remote right there. Look at that. Ready to fire that scope up in the 60-yard backyard. More help right in the middle of me trying to work on this thing. Don't go by what I do here in terms of doing the stringing and all that stuff. What you need to do is watch the Excalibur version of this process. There's an Excalibur video on their YouTube channel, and I would go by that 100%. So I just watched that again, and I'm going to go through this process, see if I can do it from memory. Might have to stop and pull out that video again, because it is a little more complex than the standard Excalibur. The OB here, you just pull it back, put a new string on, and hit a bullseye, right? It's a whole different process. This is a little different. This requires a little bit additional work on my part and know-how and knowledge on my part, but it's certainly something we can do. You can't press this thing. Now, what I would like to do is to use that press right there. That is what I would like to do, but I cannot, because you can't press this crossbow, really, I don't think. The problem is that if you press it, you can't get those cables off, because the fingers would be on here and you couldn't get the cable over it. So the stringing aid is going to go through here, use these grooves, go back, use a trigger box. It's a similar process to what we do in the other crossbows, or the regular recurve crossbows. I forgot to take pictures of the cams. You're going to want to take pictures of the cams before you start this process, just so that you have something to reference. So I took the pictures of the cams front and back. Ideally, you take pictures of the cams cocked and uncocked right when you get it from the factory, when it's set up properly. Get a picture of that and be able to compare that later on down the road after you've done this work. Always do that with these compound style crossbows. All right, I'm really liking this so far. It hasn't been that bad. The only issues I've had are dealing with the cocking and decocking, which is just muscle memory. It's me not knowing where my hands go and all that good stuff. But for the most part, we'll get there. We'll get there. Got the strings, got the cables off, the stringing aid placed off to the front. I just manually dialed the trigger box back up out of the way so we can work on this bad boy. While I've got the cables off and those are out of the way, I'm going to take a tip from friend of Bunjie, Jim, at Backyard Broadheads. Got an acrylic marker, a blue marker, And I'm going to drop this, take those timing marks right there. I'm going to write a little bit of blue in there and fill them in good with my acrylic marker like that. And then I'm just going to wipe that off like this and leave a little blue where I can see it. Hopefully that stands out. So now I can see those timing marks a little bit better. Jim used silver on his, or white on his Raven to make those stand out. But this is an Excalibur. And Excalibur likes the blue accents. So I figured I'd use blue. How about that? And from now on, I will use a rag for this and not my fingers. String and cables off. There's the old stuff right there. I'll probably toss all of that. I wouldn't even save it for a future use. I should have another string and cables on hand. I'll probably just buy a set and have them on hand, so I have a brand new set of strings and cables on hand at all times for this crossbow. Another one of the problems of having multiple crossbows is all these parts and having all the backup parts. Gets very expensive. Here's the E-clip. I'm going to attempt to get that off. I hate these things, but there's piston in there. You take the E-clip off, and maybe once we get that off, the piston will slide out, limbs come off. Oh, we're halfway there. Here is the original limb that I took out, rubber installed. I'm going to try and match the rubber on the new limb, put it in exactly the same spot. Not interested in shooting it without the rubber on. I am told how loud it is, and I want to maintain whatever I've got going on. Happy with the speeds, etc. These are 425 limbs. Those are 420 limbs. I'm just going to match these two up with the rubber. You're going to need one of these dudes to poke the piston through. Don't need to take the piston all the way out, but back that out. I did take the screw out just in case. I will put that back in. I don't think you need to take that out, but I took off the E-clip, punched the piston through gently. Old limbs, new limbs. Look at that, pretty fancy. Cranking aid, stringing aid installed. We got it on there. Now I'll reseat the cables and we'll see what we got. The design of this, I really do like this. So we got our timing marks. That's going to be a lot easier to see in the future. I do like those little blue dots that I put on here. Thank you, Jim, at Backyard Broadheads. But what we do with this thing, we're looking for these arrows, okay, to align the cables. So we're just going to rotate the cam in until we get those arrows peeking through there. And then, as you can see those arrows, there's a hole there with the arrow pointing toward it. That is the hole that we want to feed this cable through, okay? We're going to feed the cable through so it's sticking up halfway through, okay? And then we're going to rotate in the direction of the other arrow right there, which is pretty cool because once you rotate in the direction of that arrow, it's drawing it in and lining it up and wrapping it on the correct, proper groove. I don't have to worry about having the right groove. Like, that's pretty cool. It's going to do it for me. So it's like an automatic machine, an assistant right here, mounted on the crossbow that puts the cables in the right spot. Right, so the pictures that I took before are good, but I don't necessarily need them because it's almost dummy proof. I got one of the cables in already, but it's really not a bad process. You take the cable, pinch it a little bit, get it lined up so you can put it through the hole, find your arrow. We just feed this through that hole all the way through to the bottom. We're just going to pull it through about halfway. See? Cable, cable. Right, and then we're going to rotate in the direction of the arrow. Look how easy that feeds. And you'll see, if you watch it on the sides here, you actually get to see it feeding in there, and you'll see how far you have to go. And it's not that far. It's just far enough to get that wrapped up to where it is all the way around, and now we're right about where we want to be. The next step will be to put the string on, but we've got the cables where they need to be. Okay, those are now set up. I wanted to see something else here too that's pretty neat. I got the string attached and ran that. Really didn't need a hyperlapse for that because it was 2 seconds. But if you check this out, the way this is, if I pull this tight, I can get that string, you know, work it that way. But as I'm pulling it, timing marks here, timing marks there. It's kind of in time before I even put the cables on it. You know, a lot of these things you can rotate them, rotate them, rotate them, rotate them. But I put this on there and it just falls right where I want it. Now it's just a matter of getting the cables on. When I cock this back, I can seat the cables in the limb tips. And once that's done, I think we're going to have pretty much in time without twisting, right? And you can always cock it, loosen up the cable if you gotta, and work one side, make it a little longer to move the cams, advance them or pull them back, whatever you got to do. But this isn't too bad. I'm pretty happy with that. The timing marks are where the cables are going to be when it's strung. Thanks, Genevieve.
You're welcome.
You're the best.
Now my thumbs are all used up.
Yeah, I know. It does wear your thumbs right out, man. I'd be cranking on this thing because you're working these little guys. So just a couple tips. This really isn't so bad. Other than that stringing aid, this really has been a seamless process. It's not so bad. Not done yet, but you know what I'm saying. So far, so good. Don't you like those little blue timing marks? That's pretty sweet, isn't it? Excalibur all the way, baby. Matches the blue stringing aid. Now, these cables, a couple little tips. You want them over this loop, okay? Right? Not over this loop. That's not going to do it. Not good. You try and fire it that way, I'm thinking that's bad, but it kind of feels like it wants to go on there and you think, oh, I'm done. But then you look at it, it's got to go in this groove, okay? Make sure you got it in the right groove. Also, put them on inside the loop of the stringing aid because when you go to let this loose, you're going to want to make sure that's done as well. But these look like they're seated good. Give them a sniff test. Make sure they haven't come off of there before you let the tension down because now all the tension on those limbs is coming off of this. You see, that's on there pretty tight. I think that's like a B flat, isn't it? I don't know. Watch out for this too. This is the groove you want to be in, the top one, because that's where it's carved out. It wants to sit in this half the time, which is just where the two pieces come together. That's really a seam. It's not a groove. It wants to be in this groove, it's supposed to be, but it keeps trying to sit in this. And then the stringing aid gets caught against the string and sits right in the cam, and then it makes it so you can't cock it. I mean, you can't have it there. That's going to wear against the serving on the cable as the cable goes around or the string goes around, that kind of thing. So it's got to go in this groove right here. But just be careful when you're cocking it that it's in that top groove. You look down the barrel, when you're sitting up here looking down it, you can kind of tell. When I let go, all the tension is going to be transferred to the cables and string. But make sure the string is seated properly before you do that, before you let it down. Just make sure that everything looks like it's in the right grooves. And it probably should be, like I said, it is kind of dummy proof in a sense that these can only be in one groove. The way it wraps up, it's kind of straightforward. So far so good. We're going to let it down now and see how that goes. Everything sat nice when I let the stringing aid off. I returned that to its post over here. Probably throw that in my Excalibur bag right here. I bought a bunch of bank pouches off Amazon, and I'm going to carry one for each crossbow with the various pieces of gear, whether it's crank handles, wax, lube, all that stuff that the various crossbows like. So we'll have one for the Hybrid-X as well, and that will include that string changer. Keep it all in one spot. So this, though, is ready to go. The timing ended up here just by default, right? It kind of did it itself. It kind of fell right into place. Now it's on the end of that range, and as long as we're within the range, it's supposed to maintain pretty good accuracy. Death by Bunjie. I've let the new strings and cables sit overnight, and I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing here. I would let them, I didn't shoot it. And the reason I let it sit overnight without shooting it was to hear back from Excalibur. I sent them a message, an email, my contacts at Excalibur, the people I've been talking to about this crossbow, and they said, yeah, they saw the pictures. Okay, so I sent them the pictures of the way that it looks cocked and all that sort of thing now. And they said, as long as you're not getting serving wear, it should be fine. Just keep them posted on that, and we'll deal with it, right? So they're very responsive, and it was on a weekend, right? I'm filming this Sunday morning. This was Saturday afternoon. I got a response back, which I think is wonderful. I'm not saying everybody gets that kind of treatment, but I'm saying it gives me the warm and fuzzies when a company deals with me personally about stuff and is responsive. So that's good news. And that's consistent with Excalibur, right? A lot of people have that sort of experience. Here on this guy, my concern was the timing, and I can tell you, look what happened as it sat overnight. We've got a little bit different timing, don't we? Those blue dots looking pretty good. I am happy with the timing and the way that it has settled in. We'll shoot this in the backyard. Two things we want to know about in the 60-yard backyard. One, with the new limbs, new string, what's that doing as far as speed is concerned? So I'm going to speed test this once again. We'll probably just go straight to the 150 grain broadhead and compare that with what we had previously. The second thing that I want to test on here is start seeing if it's, when I cock it, is it going to be rubbing the cams and all that stuff? Do we have string wear? And while we're doing this, I'm going to keep cocking and shooting, and I'm going to be shooting it in the 60-yard backyard and see what we've got for distance, right? What will this thing do in the 60-yard backyard as far as accuracy is concerned? I'll get the Burris dialed in. All these reviews on YouTube are nice. They give you an idea of something, but until you've shot this crossbow for months and months and months, and maybe an entire season, or maybe even more, you really don't know it, right? You really don't know all of the answers and what it can and can't do, what's going to survive, what's not. You really don't know. Until you've shot it a bunch of times, you don't know what you like and don't like. And sometimes it takes months to determine what you don't like. It's just the way it is. It's the way it is with crossbows. So I have to take that into account. It's the best I can do, play around in the backyard and report things as they happen. That's one of the values of having a 3-part series, which this is going to be a 4 or 5-part series now, on this crossbow. Because have any of the other reviews, when I started doing this review, did you think I was going to be doing a change of strings and cables? Right? Nobody would have thought that. That's crazy. Why would you do that? But we had to do it. And I'm glad I did it, because I figured out how easy it was, and I've got extra limbs. I got a spare set of limbs. They're telling me these are just cosmetic. The new ones have the same sort of so-called imperfections, and it's just the way it is. It's not a problem. I'll save these as spare limbs, but at least I got the new ones on there, so I kind of know what we're dealing with. One other thing I got to mention on this. When we opened this, it came in a FedEx box, and Jim and I were laughing. We're like, "Oh, thanks a lot, Dave. You know, you really went out of your way to box this thing up. It was just it was just loose in a box." He reached out to me. He sent me an email. Dave from Wyvern Creations reached out to me, and I want to make this clear. He did not pack it in a FedEx box. That was FedEx. Apparently, the Excalibur box that it was in got damaged on its way to Pennsylvania from New Hampshire and got all beat up, and they had to repack it. So hopefully I got everything I was supposed to have, so that's not Wyvern Creations' fault. Please keep that in mind. That is what we're looking for on these new cables, by the way. If we see that, then we got some issues, don't we? That is fuzziness. That's where the cam was rubbing that loop when you cock it. And it shouldn't happen this time. When I cock this back, we shouldn't have that. We should have better clearance, I'm hoping. Just cocked it after having sat all night with new strings and cables, new limbs. Just cocked it for the first time. I like what I see. I'm liking what I'm seeing here. Hopefully you guys aren't going to have the same issue. But if you do, you know it's fixable. That's the important thing. And the cool thing is I managed to do this. This crossbow is brand new to me. I have a little experience with compound bows, a lot of experience with recurves, crossbows. And this is something I was able to do with a couple of times watching a YouTube video from Excalibur, was able to do all of this stuff and speak with them on a telephone. So don't be afraid of it. You can do it. It can be done. And I think the payoff is you got yourself a really nice crossbow, hopefully, right? Fingers crossed. But I'm really liking what I'm seeing. Now, I want to show you what I got. Never mind all the Trident grease. I've been putting the Trident grease on there. I like that. That is what I do on the compounds because it lubricates it. And that stuff stays on there good. It's waterproof. It won't rust, won't corrode. But now we've got just a little bit of clearance in there. Like these things come in here, but they aren't bent around the cam on either side. I like what I'm seeing. Nice straight loops. The loops go straight back. We'll continue to monitor it, but that's what it looks like cocked now. I'm going to finish lubing this now that it's drawn back. I will finish putting the Trident on there. Then after I fire it, wipe it down with a clean cotton cloth to get all of that residue off of there. And then we should be good to go fire this bad boy up and put some shots through it in the 60-yard backyard and true in the world's greatest scope, the Burris Oracle X. Incidentally, I do have another scope coming. We will be trying the Zulus, that night vision thing or whatever. We'll be trying that out here soon and doing videos on that. These are 18-inch Diablos, and they do stick out a little bit. I had questioned last time in one of the previous videos about this crossbow, about whether I would like to have 16.5-inch arrows so it didn't stick out as far. Really, I don't like that now. I've talked to Excalibur about that. They chose the 18-inch, the Diablo-style arrow, specifically so that it would be easier to load. And that's a good point. I like the fact that you got plenty of arrow out here to get your fingers on that and work it down there. It loads real easy. People online had suggested, boy, just put the arrow through this way. No way, no thank you. That's a good way to get your fingers shot off. It's also a good way to have your broadhead or your field point nick the string, something like that. I mean, it's just too many problems with that. That's not the design. Just don't do that. I'm going to load it this way. It actually loads no problem. Goes right back there, snaps in place. No problem with the 18-inch arrows now that I know that. So let's go out there now and see what we got for the speed. 415. Quit while you're ahead, that's what I say. That is exactly what I expected. I am confident that properly tuned, this crossbow will shoot 435 feet per second with a 400 grain arrow. I'm not going to get the 427 with a 450 that we got in a 60-yard backyard, but I bet I get close to 420. I bet I get 415 to 420. And that's pretty cool. It was originally set a little hot, that's why we got those faster speeds, and that's why you don't want those faster speeds. That's why you got the cable wear, the loops we're wearing, that sort of thing. Don't tinker with those, get them done properly. But I was able to do it myself. And I gotta tell you, doesn't get much better than that for a shot down a chronograph, now does it? That's about dead center, isn't it? But now that I've shot it, I can wipe it down a little bit with a clean cotton cloth, get the residue of that Trident grease off of there, just the thickest of it. I'm not trying to leave fibers, not trying to remove it entirely, just make sure that the residue is off of it because it splatters all over, and that way we don't have to worry about that. And we should be good to go, keep shooting in the backyard. The sun is coming out a little bit, I like it. I like what I'm seeing here. I'm going to be shooting a little bit and report to you how we're doing as far as truing it with this crossbow scope is concerned. If it'll play nice with the Burris, and all I mean by that is I'm able to true it on here. It's going to take months of shooting it to see whether it stays sighted in, right? These cables are going to change over time. They're going to stretch a little bit. The timing marks look like they're exactly like they were when we started, just so you know. There's no change in that, so that is good. And the paint staying on there nice the whole bit. So that's kind of nice. It's looking good. I'm pretty excited. For all that I've been through in a short period of time with this crossbow, playing around with it, changing the limbs, changing the strings, changing the cables, I am really happy with this. And it got the speeds, even with a new set of limbs, I got a new set of cables, and a new string, I got the speed that I was looking for, that I expected. And that's good. That means you're going to get the speeds that were advertised, and I do believe that that's what Excalibur does. I really didn't have any doubt about that, because that is Excalibur's reputation, right? They do give you the speed. And this time with a 400 grain arrow, right? And look at this. The limb saver stayed on, huh? How about that? That's pretty cool. You don't always get that, right, with the Excaliburs or whatever. So I really like what I'm seeing about this. I'm going to stop talking about this crossbow for now, but I will add to this playlist on YouTube additional videos as we move forward with this great crossbow. And I call it a great crossbow. I really, really like it. Right? The first time I saw it, I was like, oh, I'm excited about this. Then I shot it a little bit and played with it, and I'm still really excited about it. So probably won't hunt with it until I get myself a lighted nock, but I can tell you when that happens, this will be my one gun most likely. Until next time, all hail. Alright, I was gonna finish up the video there, but I am not going to do that. I just changed the strings, I just changed the cables, I just changed the limbs on this crossbow, as you know. And I want you to see my first shot at 20 yards. Look what I got. If that is not Excalibur perfection, I don't know what is. It's also a testament to the Burris Oracle X, because I had it trued in a little bit before playing around with it, but it is dialed in now, and that's with a 150 grainer on here, so that's a 450 grain arrow traveling 415 feet per second. Out of this crossbow, first shot, kaboom! This has been the most up and down situation ever with a crossbow for me, but got it out of the box, loved it, started playing with it, saw the cam issue there, the string cable issue, whatever. Again, you're probably not going to have that problem. I'm anxious to hear from people if they do have that problem. But two things. One, I want to hear from you, because I think my issue was, this is a open box kind of crossbow, right? It had been played with a little bit, and it may not be set up the way yours will be from the factory. So don't be too concerned about that. The takeaway for me is I fixed it. Check this out. I mean, I put new limbs on here myself. I did it myself. Changed the strings. Changed the string. Changed the cable. And kaboom, look at that shot. That's fantastic. At 20 yards, it's dialed in. It's right where I left it. So don't be too concerned about that. I think that that's a non-issue as far as that is concerned. Accuracy, I can play around with this thing at distance. I'm going to do that today. But wow. I mean, the first shot, it's a dead-on bullseye. What more do you want? right? That's accuracy. So, and it's repeatable because I took the thing apart, put it back together, and it did it. The only other crossbow in my life, right, that I have seen, you take apart, put it back together again, and it does exactly the same thing. What other crossbow does that, right? There's only one. Bunjie, right? I stood up on that balcony right there, took the string off it, put a new string on it. Take a look out there, kid. See what we can do. Ready? Same as the other one. Boom, dead on, perfect bullseye at 20 yards. Did the same thing in Manitoba. That's about as dead on as somebody could do. This thing.
Why do you use anything else?
Oh man.
Why do you bother?
It spun that. Look how deep that went to that target, even with the practice point. This is, man, what a machine, huh? Flew from Pennsylvania, 3 stops, 3 different airplanes, 2-hour drive overnight in a foreign city, Winnipeg, all the way to Canada, and kaboom, off my knee, first shot, after reassembling it, taking the front end, putting it back on, didn't adjust the brace height or anything, put it all back together, lubed it up, and kaboom. Mwah! I love this crossbow. This thing does the same thing. That's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive. This is a solid crossbow. I'm still loving this thing. Again, muddy yard, muddy boots. Here is the important thing, and that is that I didn't have any trouble truing this with the Burris Oracle X on this crossbow. I put it on there and it is shooting just fine. I shot at those different distances, 2 arrows a shot. Really should do 3 to make sure, to give it the smell test, the sniff test, make sure it seems like it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. But I can tell you, just a couple of shots and trued it, backed it up. And then when I went back and split the difference, shot at 46 yards or whatever, it's still to my satisfaction. I'll try and recount what we did. This is my 30s, okay? Here's my 30s. They were a little bit high. Trued it a little bit, brought it back down. The second ones I'm shooting here, they were high. What I did is I just trued to this, right? I split the difference and I just changed the aiming point to there. My next one, real high. It's because this crossbow's shooting faster than the factory reset. That's all it is. So my first one was up here because I was aiming here, it was about 4 inches high. So I shot, the next time I shot at this target instead, this dot down here, and it was still high. So, but they were consistent. See, that's the thing, they're consistent. So I trued for that, right? So if I'd taken a third shot, it would have been dead on, or a lot better. But just to make sure that that's true, I went out, I was shooting at this, and it was here. And I'm pretty good with that. I feel confident now, but I'm pretty happy with this, especially on a windy day where I just did all this work this weekend. And I'm going to go in and edit videos now. I'm going to stop filming videos about this crossbow, right? I am going to send an email or two and text some people and let them know how it's going. But man, I'm pretty impressed. Pretty impressed. Hope you're getting something out of this series on this crossbow.
I grew up in Bradford County in PA. We're from counties, not towns. We can buy bait out of vending machines and spotlight deer while we're driving around. I grew up with Hatchie Malachi, and I grew up with Yamuan. Agnes and